What if numbers were more than symbols?
What if they were the hidden language of the universe?
More than 2,500 years ago, one man believed that music, shapes, and even the stars followed mathematical harmony.
His name was Pythagoras.
Don't worry if you don't understand English very well. You can simply press the settings button and easily set a subtitle language.
For automatic subtitles, tap the CC icon or the settings button, select subtitles, and then the language you prefer. Works the same on all devices.
When you hear the name Pythagoras, what do you think of? A triangle, right? A theorem you had to memorize in school. But the man behind the name was so much more than that. He was a mystic, a cult leader, and a thinker who was convinced that reality itself had a secret code. This is the story of the man who believed he could hear the universe sing. Just think about that for a second. What if everything from the stars in the sky to the music you love, even justice itself, wasn't random at all? What if it was all part of a perfectly structured reality, a reality written in the language of numbers? This question absolutely obsessed Pythagoras. For him, this wasn't just math. It was a spiritual quest for the ultimate truth of everything. So, where did such a wild, radical idea even come from? Well, our story kicks off around 570 BCE on the Greek island of Samos. You have to picture this place. It was a bustling hub of trade, ships coming and going, but more importantly, it was a hub of new ideas. And this is where a young Pythagoras began his lifelong journey for answers. Now, his philosophy wasn't just thought up in a quiet room somewhere. It was forged through decades of travel. I mean, look at this path. He goes from his home in Greece to the ancient mysteries of Egypt, and then to the incredible astronomical knowledge of Babylon before he finally lands in Italy to start his school. He left home a Greek philosopher, but he returned as something much bigger, a thinker shaped by the greatest civilizations of the ancient world. Think about this amazing fusion of ideas. Back home in Greece, the big question was, what is the world made of? Is it water, air, some kind of physical stuff? But in Egypt, Pythagoras ran into a totally different way of thinking. Here, geometry wasn't some abstract theory. It was a powerful, practical tool for measuring the world. And even more profound, he was introduced to the idea that the soul is immortal. Then, the story goes, he was taken from Egypt to Babylon, and here he found a universe that wasn't run by the random whims of gods, but by predictable mathematical laws. The Babylonians were masters of tracking the cycles of the planets. This was it. This was the final piece of the puzzle. He took the Egyptian idea of an eternal soul and combined it with the Babylonian vision of an ordered mathematical cosmos. And that combination? That's what transformed him. So after all those years on the road, Pythagoras finally settles in Croton, a Greek colony in southern Italy. But he didn't just want to teach a few classes. No, he wanted to create a whole new way of life, a community totally dedicated to purifying the mind and soul so they could finally perceive the universe's hidden harmony. A Pythagorean one, that's what kind. I mean, this was not a place for casual chit-chat. Pythagoras believed that to truly understand anything, you first had to learn how to listen. Not just to him, but to listen to the silence, to the patterns inside yourself. This idea was absolutely revolutionary. And the rules, whoa, were they intense. Get this, a mandatory 5-year vow of silence for anybody new. A strict vegetarian diet because they believed all living things were kindred spirits. Nobody owned anything. All possessions were shared. Everybody wore simple white clothes. And, in another move that was way ahead of its time, women were welcomed as equals, as thinkers and teachers. This wasn't just a school. It was a hardcore spiritual commune designed to strip away every single distraction. The spiritual engine driving all this was an idea called metempsychosis. It's basically the transmigration of souls. The belief is that the soul is immortal and can be reborn in any living creature, a person, an animal, anything. So, if that's true, then being kind isn't just a nice suggestion, it's a cosmic law. Every single thing you do matters for your soul's eternal journey. Okay, so this brings us to the absolute core of it all, the one single earth-shattering idea that everything else was built on. The belief that the universe isn't just described by numbers, it is literally made of numbers. That at the deepest possible level, reality is math. And hey, This isn't just some modern take on it. Even Aristotle, writing centuries later, knew this was their central belief. He said they saw the principles of mathematics as the principles of everything. For them, it was the master key that could unlock every secret of the cosmos.
So how did they get to this wild conclusion? Legend says it started with something really simple. A single stringed instrument. You pluck the string, you get a note. Okay, but, and here's the magic, if you press down exactly in the middle, a perfect 1-to-2 ratio, you get the same note, just an octave higher. Press down at 2/3 the length, a 2-to-3 ratio, and you get a perfect, beautiful harmony. The revelation must have been mind-blowing. The beauty of music, something so emotional, wasn't magic. It was governed by simple, elegant math.
This one discovery just explodes into their most famous and poetic idea. They thought, hey, if simple ratios create musical harmony on a string, why not in the heavens? They proposed that the planets, all moving in their own orbits, also followed these same mathematical ratios, creating a huge, perfect cosmic symphony, a music of the spheres that our ears can't hear, but that a purified soul could actually perceive. And they packed this entire philosophy into one sacred symbol, the tetractys. It's a triangle made of 10 little dots. Why 10? Because it's 1 + 2 + 3 + 4, the very numbers that created musical harmony. To the Pythagoreans, this simple shape held the entire blueprint of the universe. It was so holy to them, they would swear their most solemn oaths on it. But an idea this powerful, this all-encompassing, doesn't just stay behind closed doors forever. The Brotherhood's focus on order and ethics made its members super respected, and they started getting involved in the politics of Croton. And this is where their philosophy of harmony starts to create some very serious, very violent discord. I mean, on one hand, their members were seen as incorruptible and wise, the perfect people to advise the city's leaders. But their success was a double-edged sword. To everybody on the outside, their strange communal lifestyle, their secret rites, their vows of silence, it started to look less like philosophy and more like a conspiracy, a secret society trying to take over. The breaking point, the story goes, came with a guy named Cylon. He was rich, he was powerful, but he didn't have the discipline the Brotherhood demanded, so Pythagoras turned him away. Well, Cylon was humiliated, and he became their #1 enemy. He whipped up all the fear and resentment that was already brewing, painting them as this elitist cult. And one night, that resentment just boiled over. A mob attacked their meeting houses and burned them to the ground. The community built on harmony was shattered by fire and chaos. Pythagoras himself either died in the attack or escaped into exile. He basically just vanishes into legend. His physical community was utterly destroyed. But here's the thing. You can't kill an idea with fire. And his most important idea was about to change the world forever. And that brings us to this. A² + B² = C². Everybody knows it. It's the one thing that has carried his name down through 2,500 years of history. The theorem about right-angled triangles. But here's the incredible twist. He probably didn't discover it. We already know that builders in Babylon and Egypt had been using this relationship for centuries. They knew that it worked. The real Pythagorean revolution, the true game changer, was figuring out why it worked. They made this unbelievable leap from just observing something to logically proving it, from it seems to work to it must be true always, everywhere. That shift, that's the birth of mathematics as we know it. And this new way of thinking, of using reason to find absolute provable truth, was a bombshell. The philosopher Plato was so deeply influenced by it that he supposedly had this phrase carved over the door to his famous academy. For Plato, the road to real wisdom ran straight through the Pythagorean world of geometry. So this is his ultimate legacy. It's bigger than any single theorem, bigger than any strange rule about not eating beans. Pythagoras gave us the foundational belief of all science, that the universe is not just random, meaningless chaos, it's intelligible, it follows laws. And we, using reason and math, can actually understand them. Which leaves us with one last question, doesn't it? Pythagoras looked at a chaotic world and believed a simple, elegant harmony was hiding underneath it all. Today, we live in a world of infinite data, just a constant storm of digital noise. It really makes you wonder, what fundamental harmonies are we still missing?
If you like the story of Pythagoras and want to discover other personalities, press the like button, subscribe, and share. See you in the next episode.